why don't we start with perhaps some of the highlights of the budget, perhaps in your opinion, that people may view as positive decisions. So in your opinion, what would be some of those?
Well, I think that there was a lot of feedback councillors received prior to that meeting about the Brights Grove Library project, as well as the BASE initiative, which is kind of a sports recreational facility being proposed. Those were two issues that I received, probably well over 100 emails on each, and had a few phone conversations about with our residents. So I think those were two key highlights of that meeting, that the community made sure councillors knew about and advocated for.
Are you perhaps like other councillors, who voted in favor of the police headquarters, the BASE project, and the Brights Grove project that we were just talking about? Or is anybody having the conversation, or maybe sharing concerns about the 16% or possibly 17 plus tax levy for the 2026 budget? I mean, that is a concern for people in the community.
Oh, it's a huge concern, and I think the conversation about the police station is a longer conversation. It needs to be a conversation about why the upgrade is needed, why it's so important, what standards are not being met today, how we complete that, how long until that facility becomes completely unusable. We need a vision for that kind of thing so that we can start talking again about investment. So if we're not going to do that if we're not going to start a process this year, my thought process in supporting the $5 million to do some of that exploratory stuff was really rooted in, I think we should at least do some investigative stuff about land, about the assessment. Can you actually build something on this property and not have it sink or whatever?
Right.
Things like that. I'm thinking about that. I know that puts us back on the debt books, but I do I'm thinking if we don't build something for 10 years, we still have to start saving some money so that we can start a process, and so we're caught in a little bit of a balance, because right now I don't know what our other sources of funding are going to be. And the price tag, as people have heard in the media, is something like $91 million. So how do you finance something like that if it's truly critical? So what we're going to see moving forward, I believe, is that the budget process might be done, but the mayor also may actually respond with a veto.
That's right. So this still may change.
Yeah, and again, it's a new process that we haven't used. So it's unclear, to me anyway, whether we're complete or we're not complete. But I think the Brights Grove Library had 7 votes in favor, and I think the BASE project had 6, and the police station had 5. So there's also a little bit of a question about if there is a veto, which of those projects might survive. I don't so we got to ask about that. I know the mayor, we all saw a bare bones budget presented with a minimal increase. But that 16-17% increase that you're talking about is definitely deeply concerning.
Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
Oh, no, sorry. So we're in a place where, in a lot of cases, there's no outside sources of funding, but we also have to wrestle with the quality of life we have here in the city, and that's always been a political issue in every epoch that I've ever read in history.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing that I've sort of spoken to people in the community, so what would you say to people that are worried about the city basically having to use reserves to balance the book? So they had to do it last year. We're doing it again this year. What would you say to anyone that's worried about doing that? And are there conversations that perhaps the public doesn't know about that are happening that, there's work being done so that we don't carry on like that?
Well, you would have heard the mayor clearly articulate. I think you would have heard Councillor Dennis even talk about that, and maybe Councillor Gillis. And that's an ongoing worry, and I believe it's even been said at the public budget meetings the last 2 or 3 years, because and like right now there was a conversation with one of these projects about moving money from one reserve, even if it's just being borrowed or placed in another fund and placed back in if fundraising goals are exceeded or whatever, for perhaps Brights Grove or whatever. Well, not whatever, but I think that was the Brights Grove project.
Yeah.
So I think people need to be incredibly concerned, because again, we're always trying to balance quality of life with living within our means. Mm-hmm. And we've done that pretty well for a long time. At the same point, a little parable I always tell people is that I served a church, 20 years ago, and I was the youth minister, and somehow I got on the organ committee. Mm-hmm. And they had this beautiful, Quebec-built Cassavant organ, pipe organ. Mm-hmm. And, they wanted to repair it. Well, they brought in a consultant from the company, and it was going to cost 3/4 of the cost of building a brand new one. It was somewhere around $300,000-$400,000. And so at some point I asked, well, when did you last do repairs? And it was like 20 years ago. So they were shocked after not maintaining that the cost to repair grew. These are conversations when we're talking about things like police buildings, when we're talking about quality of life programming like the BASE project. People should be very concerned about the budget.